Good morning, gentlemen. I'm going to talk to you today about Cuba and give a comparison with Iran. Now, Iran, of course, is greatly publicized, and we know what's happening there. The Americans, in a way, have had to eat the humble pie. I mean, they haven't been able to subdue Iran. Iran is still fighting on, and every time the Americans do some heavy bombing, and then they say that Iran is coming to the negotiating table, there's going to be a ceasefire, an extension of ceasefire, and then they say Iran is going to agree to all our terms, and finally the net result then is coming out of a bit zero. That means the Americans are somehow, it appears to me, to be begging Iran for a ceasefire, begging for Iran to agree to the American terms, and they are holding out a lot of lollipops, and those lollipops are like they would be handing over the money that's frozen in Qatar, and they would be taking off the sanctions. They would allow Iran to export the oil. So they want Iran to agree to what the Americans are saying. I would say it's not talking from a position of strength, but they're talking from a position of weakness. And what they're asking Iran is basically with folded hands, let there be free navigation through the Straits of Hormuz, hand over your nuclear arsenal, the, the U-35 uranium, which you have salted away, hand it over so you don't never have nuclear weapons, and try and become a civil nation. Americans have lost all dream that they will be able to have a regime change. So it's as good as becoming a big zero, as far as the regime change is concerned. Now, that is the actual fact. That means the Americans have come to a dead end. And what is happening is the Americans are little very scared of launching any attack with their own soldiers on Iran. They're looking for some people, who can fight their battle in Iran, and they'll give them support, but they're not finding anybody. I think Pakistan's played a shrewd game, and despite all the praise which Trump heaped on the self-styled Marshal Munir, he hasn't fallen into the trap, and so it's back to square one. Another big point which Americans are making is when Donald Trump spoke to all the important countries, that is, the Muslim countries of the GCC, the Middle East, and Pakistan, and he told them to sign the Abraham Accord. And the signing of the Abraham Accord would mean the recognition of Israel, and then everybody would be on the same footing, and Iran would be cornered. So it's not even happening that way. So I do not know. I think if I were in Donald Trump's position, I would be greatly worried what's going to happen. And I would definitely be wondering what to do next. And that is the dilemma. The eternal question which Hamlet had to answer, who am I? And that is what the Americans are wondering, what the hell is going to be done now? But there's another place where the Americans are recouping their energy, and despite the threats from Russia and China not to intervene, I think they are on the verge of carrying out a regime change in Cuba. Now, Cuba has been a communist country since 1959. That was the time when Fidel Castro came and took over the government. He's no more, and for some time his younger brother Raul Castro was the leader. He then gave away and handed over the leadership. He's now 94 years old. But now Donald Trump has decided the time has come to throw the communist regime out of Cuba. I think he has a legitimate right because Cuba's economy is badly damaged. They don't know what the hell is happening there. The people, there's no electricity, there's no diesel, and I think it's a hellhole, frankly, Cuba. So if the Americans come in, I think it'll be a boon for the people there, and the president of Cuba is going to have a tough time. They've already filed some charges against Raul Castro, who was at one time the dictator of Cuba. But one thing, let's accept the fact the communists have been ruling Cuba since 1959, and they have made the whole country into a, I don't know what word to use. I think I'll say SH. I wouldn't like to expand it, but not parliamentary language, but that's what precisely they've done. They've buggered up the entire country, and the people are just running around for scraps of food. There's nothing to eat. There's no electricity. There's no power. I mean, what's the use of a communist regime that does that? I think it would be in the best interest of the people if Donald Trump really gets cracking and removes this regime. I think it's an eyesore on the world. But then, in contrast, just compared with Iran, all the bravado's gone there. I mean, it's not there. And America will fight in Iran only if absolutely forced because they don't want to put their troops into combat position with against the Iranian Revolutionary Guard because I'm very sure that the Revolutionary Guard are going to fight, tooth and nail, and that's not going to be very helpful for the Americans. And so they're instigating Pakistan, they're instigating the UAE to launch an attack. I think UAE was keen to launch an attack in conjunction with Qatar and Saudi Arabia, but it hasn't happened. I think both the other countries developed cold feet, and that's one of the classics example of the Arabs who are looking forward to America to fight their battle. They themselves don't want to do anything. I won't comment on it. I'll leave it at that. But the point is, what I'm not able to understand how the Americans never did their homework as far as Iran is concerned. The Iranians are really showing his fist to the Americans all the time, and yet the Americans are lumping it, despite all the talk by Donald Trump that I'm going to send you to the Stone Age and I'll hit you in such a way that you will live to remember. He's done nothing like that. He has been carrying out some sporadic bombing here and there, but that's about all. I think he's been short of aim, short of political acumen, and basically short of the will to fight. Now, I remember I making an article I wrote some time back that no nation can become a global power if it doesn't have the will to fight. I think the Americans don't have the will to fight. They're looking for easy victories, and they'll get an easy victory in Cuba. So they got an easy victory in Venezuela. They captured away the Venezuelan president, put him in jail. Probably they'll do the same thing to the Cuban president, and they'll take over. And the Cubans will be very happy, as the Venezuelans, I think, are very happy at the removal of President Maduro. So there are two sides to a coin. In one place, America is on a strong wicket, but they are on a very weak wicket in the more important aspect of the battle all over, and that is Iran. They're not very weak wicket there. And despite the fact, that there's no active involvement, no soldiers coming in actively from China and Russia. I don't think much of support has come from China also because Chinese are really wary of the Americans and they are what about the eastern flank where Formosa and Japan are breathing down their neck. So the Chinese don't want to get involved in Iran. But the Russians, I think, are bogged down in Ukraine. I think 4 years of battle, and I'll just add a digress here onto Ukraine. I think the Russian failure to subdue Ukraine for 4 years of fighting is a big blot on the Russian army. I think what the hell their army is fighting there? What were they wasting time? I think if I was Putin, I would have had a ceasefire 3 years back and then consolidate my position. Or I would have launched an all attack on day one in Ukraine and crushed it. So they haven't done anything like that. So these three battle points show that Russia has lost ground as far as global power is concerned, as far by battling in Ukraine, and China also has lost ground because it's unable to face the Americans. Now the Americans here, by default, continue to be the global power. I say by default because though they might probably win in Cuba, they'll be able to carry a regime change there, but it's not going to be so easy in Iran. And I think the only option is that Donald Trump is just buying time. That's all, you're buying time because there has to be a clash. And the clash is going to be very disastrous in the Middle East. That's my opinion. And if that happens, I think the entire fault for this battle, or losing the battle, or whatever you see the result comes, will be with the Americans. It's been a long time since America really exerted itself and became a global power, the global policeman. But it's a sad occurrence. But America no longer has any clout. And I'm really surprised that Donald Trump, who's supposed to be such a strong-willed president, doesn't know what the hell to do. And he's been talking of taking Greenland, but he hasn't done anything there yet. And time is running out for him. The sands of time are going away. And Donald Trump has to do something great to leave a legacy behind. And if he had conquered Iran, it would have been a very big legacy. But probably he'll take a lesser legacy and ooze the Cuban regime. Well, gentlemen, I hope you like my video. Please share with your friends, and I look forward to further interaction with you. And I'm very happy that I have about 1.5 million views. I'm pretty happy, and thank you very much. I'll say goodbye, gentlemen. Take care, and God bless. Jai Hind.